So it has no
Okay,
snakes. It
that's
has no predators.
that's a unique
We
one.
don't have predators like wild animals or anything like that. So because it's that peaceful and we don't have neighbors and nobody gets to disturb our peace, New Zealand is a home to so many birds. And something about the birds here is that many of them never learned how to fly because there is nothing that scares them. So they literally walk like chicken and they lay their eggs on the ground. They don't get to put their bird. So where we come from, birds would lay their eggs in a nest because they're trying to keep them away from a predator.
Mm, mm.
But then here, because there is no one to threaten them, you'll find many birds get to lay their eggs on the ground like chicken, and they just walk. They don't fly. So it's
Yeah.
that peaceful.
You sound like you're very attached to New Zealand. How long have you lived in New Zealand?
Yes, I'm really attached to New Zealand. I've been here 3 years, and it's 3 years because I came to start my studies, and that's what brought me to New Zealand. My doctoral studies at the University of Otago. It hasn't been a very long time here, 3 years, but I can call it home. So the thing about New Zealand is that it's a very extremely welcoming culture. It's a very cultured country. And because they are few, it's a country with 5 million people only. And in some of the cities that are small or towns, everybody knows everybody. So even if you're a new person who has come, people will, quickly know that there is a new person, there is a new face. So people are really just so welcoming and nice. And the sense of community is a very strong one that I haven't experienced probably elsewhere. I should say, not even home. Maybe long ago it was there in Uganda, but many things have come in and have diluted it. I mean, it is quite common in Uganda to stay on an apartment block and your neighbor just locks their door and passes by you without saying hello. But that would not happen in New Zealand. It's a place where you sit in a bus and people would say hello, and then you pick a conversation like you know each other very well, whether it's at a supermarket or at doctor's place or wherever it will be. People make sure that they make you feel at home. We are few, so we care about feeling strongly for one another. And so once you've been here a few days, it becomes home. It literally becomes home. Yeah.
Okay, now I can relate to your feeling of home already. Just 3 years, it feels like home. Actually, feeling that is more like a typical Ugandan feeling. You as an immigrant, okay, 5 million people. That's very small a population. But the distribution of immigrants, how are there many immigrants you've met?
Incidentally, there are not too many, I should say. It's not a destination country for immigrants generally because, one, of distance. New Zealand is far removed from everybody in the world. So by the time you cross those oceans to come here for immigration purposes, because sometimes what makes people move, one, especially in Africa or in the Arab countries, it could be war and conflict, which is my passion to study. So imagine how far you would have to go to come to New Zealand. But the idea is that when there is conflict and war, you're running for safety to preserve life. So you would want to go to the nearest place where that can be achieved and you can be able to, find safety. It's really flight. So you're not in cases of desperation and utter crisis, you're looking for survival
Exactly.
more, and then the thriving may come later. So New Zealand wouldn't be a quick place for survival because it's very far away from everybody in the whole world. People tend to think that New Zealand is near Australia, but not quite. Not quite. It is far removed and even different time zones. So we're not even in the same time zone with Australia. So it would be hard for many migrants to come. So that means that people who end up coming here, it's quite targeted in the sense that I'm quite intentional. If it is migration, then it would be maybe for studies or for work, or or you have a spouse, those other different reasons. And then sometimes people find it very cold, especially on the South Island where I am, because we're just close to Antarctica. So people tend to want places that are warmer or closer to home, especially Africa. You don't want Africans cry every winter everywhere.
You don't want to move to a country where your immediate neighbors are polar bears.
No, and it would be very, very, and because of that, it becomes a very expensive country, in terms of cost of living as well as travel. Cost of living means if something is not manufactured in New Zealand, it will be flown in as the quickest means,
which makes it even more expensive.
Which makes it quite expensive. Or if it comes by the sea, it still takes a very long time, and all the other complexities of navigating sea life, So it can't be perishables. It can't be, consumables that are used on a day-to-day basis, because then they would take a long time to cross the Pacific to get here. So that means that the cost of living is extremely high, because then whatever else is not manufactured here and is imported comes in at a high cost. Actually, New Zealand has enough. It's a very self-sufficient country, and people say it's the country where we have more sheep than people. So we are farmers. I would say we are very big farmers, and so we export a lot of whether it's dairy or food, or so we can survive. We can survive quite a lot without other people. Yeah.
I have my visa. I'm taking a flight from Entebbe. How long is it from Entebbe to New Zealand?
So from Entebbe to New Zealand, if you're going to use the most direct flight, because then there are others that are, you go from one place to another, that would ideally take about a minimum of 72 hours if it's not direct. But the most direct flight,
that is 3 days.
Yes, would be or more. The most direct would be 38 hours.
38 hours.
Yes.
Okay, that is close, almost 2 days already. 38 hours. 38 hours. How have you found the cultural clashes between the two, Ugandan culture and New Zealand culture?
So incidentally, it's not very different, because traditionally, so people from New Zealand, even though people may call them New Zealanders, actually they're called Kiwis. So like you would have said, Ugandans, people from New Zealand are called Kiwis. So Kiwis are not very different from Ugandans, because traditionally the indigenous tribes that are here, which are called the Maori, are very much like us. And a few of the people in the islands here, the other islands I talked about, like Fiji or Tonga or Samoa, they trace their roots actually from East Africa, which is amazing, because we don't look the same at all. But they say some of their ancestors came from there. So the culture is quite similar. It's a very respectful culture. It is very family oriented and community oriented. It is nothing different from Uganda. The respect of elders, but maybe something that is different a little bit would be people here are not direct as people would expect. So they are more like the old Baganda, I would say, very polite, very afraid to offend. And so if there is a problem, somebody may not come out to say there is a problem. They'll find another nice way of saying. So if you're not keen, you will miss it. You will miss the complaint somebody's trying to make, because they are not trained and brought up that way to be very expressive and confrontational. They don't know how to be confrontational. Again, probably because they've lived, far from everyone. It's just like they are birds. So Bantu bantu bakwata mpola ate bakakamu nnyo, very, very polite, very, very calm. So there is no huge difference in terms of culture between a Ugandan and a Kiwi.
Have you met any Ugandans?
Very few. People tend, the biggest part of people who migrate here from Africa are from the southern part of Africa, specifically South Africa and Zimbabwe. And what is very funny is when we come here, the South Africans who come here are mostly the white, to us, the white or the Africans who are white in skin or brown. So they're the ones who come here. But when we are here, I can't tell you how many times I've met people, and because you're black and they know you're from Africa, they will hug you and say, you're my brother. And I have a daughter who is 8 years old, and she had a problem understanding how we are brothers, because you're white and black. We are not brothers, clearly. But then they would say, I'm from South Africa, so we are brothers and sisters. So the biggest number of brothers and sisters here is white, but then they feel so African that they don't even remember that they have a different skin color. So those are the most people that you would see here from Africa. And it's because of a special program, I think, that was enforced back then during apartheid, where they wanted to provide a safe space for them when things were not happening well. So I think many of them migrated here. So most of them would be white, and then others from Zimbabwe are, of course, dark like us or black. Very few Ugandans, very few East Africans, because it's not a country we talk about in East Africa. We don't talk about it here. So you will rarely find people from North Africa, from East Africa, from Central Africa. So it's just a few of us, but we do feel at home.
How open are they to immigrants?
Oh, they're very open to immigration, because you see, New Zealand is actually a British colony, so it's part of the Commonwealth. And because they have faced the same impact of colonization like we did, there is a lot we share in common in trying to understand our stolen history and all that that happened when colonialism came. So they're quite embracing, but also naturally their culture is very welcoming. People are never considered strangers. So it is funny because they refer to, to us as brothers or sister. It's quite common that somebody talks to you, my sister, in that way, in that context. And it's not a church context, because in a church context...
My sister, you're referring to a fellow immigrant or a native Kiwi?
A native who will refer to you as my sister.
Wow.
So many of them will literally call you sis, or sister or brother. Not the bro, that's the English bro, that they use, but to literally mean brother. That's how they mean brother or sister. And so here you will find it quite common that we also call people auntie, which is quite common in Africa, especially the Maori, because of respect. So because of respect, I wouldn't just come and say to an elderly lady I wouldn't call her by her first name. In a traditional Maori setting, they wouldn't. But like I said, because of colonization, so you do have a huge population of the British that came and stayed here. They've grown up here. For them, they would still say, they would still call maybe somebody by their first name. But that's where you see the difference. That this is
Maoris, those who are bending more on the .com era.
On the yes. So those would be, the people would be quite respectful. But it's just a beautiful culture. It's easy to blend in because people are very open. They're open to learning. They're open to taking in other cultures. They're, I guess sometimes the things we've been through and the shared history that we may have been in different places, but there is a bit of shared history, and that kind of binds us together. And it just kind of reminds me of the same concepts we have in Africa. In South Africa, they would call it Ubuntu. but back home too, we call it Ubuntu. You know, it's the same thing.
Ubuntu, something like that.
Ubuntu fena tuli bantu. At the end of the day, they have the same concept. Fena tuli bantu, and life is sacred. So that's how they would treat you, and that's how they treat also other things within the environment, including trees and rivers and actually nabo balanyanga ffe bwe bakubuuza nti Nalubwama ovaawa n'ogamba nva mu mutuba gwa Lusimbi, tuva Baka, tuva. So here balanya, but you have to know your mountain, ova mu nsozi ki, which rivers, which. So omuntu taba muntu just plainly, but ovaawa, wasibukawa, mu nsozi ki, mu migachi. And something about Maori people, which the rest of the world copied, is that they are tattooed. So those tattoos are cultural tattoos, but ensindo za tattoos abanyumira. So never zetekako, but with different things.
With this, do you mean that tattoos originated from New Zealand? When you say which some people copied?
Yeah, I think so, most likely, because it's that. And how they do it is that they did it quite traditionally with fish bones and, you know, ink and all that. And they still do it sometimes like that. But I mean, there are professional ways of doing tattooing these days. But those tattoos are not just for decoration.
Signs and beauty.
Yes, it shows who you are, your heritage, your story, where you have been and who you are and what you believe in and where you're going. So you will see a lot of tattoos and they are quite cultural.
New Zealand, how is the job market and job opportunities that side?
The job opportunities are there, but they are very specific. So New Zealand every year would produce what they call a green list. A green list is a list that comes out of the market survey by the experts, and then they figure out that for us to go to this level where we want to go for the vision that we have for this country, we need this number of engineers, we need this number of doctors, we need this number of teachers, we need this number of. So based on that green list, they will then release it publicly, and it's online. So anybody, by the way, anybody, Ayagala, just go online and put in New Zealand green list. If you have any skill among those that are listed, New Zealand would open doors to you. And those skills, ezimu, they were considering anti ziri quite important. And most of those would definitely, it would be called a skilled migrant visa that you would get, come with residence. Skills ezimu, the skills zetunyome waffe nga plumber, abasizi ba langi, abazimbi, abawayaringa amasanyalaze. It's big, but you know, back home oli ayinza okugamba omwana teyeyongerayo twamugamba akole wiring. Those are not simple things. They are not simple things. People have come here, makanika. People have come here with their families, and that is fully paid for because asobola okukanika emmotoka, because asobola okukola plumbing, because asobola okusiiga langi. Ate nga omuntu gwe tuyinza okonsideringa nti no yasomye nnyo oba alina empapula eza waggulu ayinza obutafuna. So I would just encourage people, just go in, look at the green list. There are so many categories on the green list. See if you have any skills that are listed, and then it is possible. And then something about New Zealand that I don't see quite common with other countries is that the country does provide, not for them, they don't pay for you, but they are accredited immigration agents that you can work with. Tebasobola bakkiriza kusaba sente nga bo bwe baagala. They are regulated by the government. So they have thresholds ez'essente ze basobola okusabiramu n'engeri gye basobola okukolamu. You can even sue them. You can bakozi nga abalala naye ng'omulimu gwabwe gwa kuyamba kufuna visa. So si bino byankoleraako empapula oba ki mu bubba. No. Government provides proper people, and there is a whole list on Immigration New Zealand website of who is accredited. Anybody on that accredited list, you can talk to them and ask them, how do I come to New Zealand? Nkoze ntya? No, oyinza n'obbawa ebipapula byo ne bagamba okay katuwa kwasesingire nti abamu asobola n'okuba nga asobola okunoonya omulimu. I mean, I don't know, they do quite a lot of things, but you have to talk to them. There is a fee to that, but usually the first consultancy you have with them would be free, but then consequently you would have to pay. So the government does provide people to help you work on your visa process to bring you to New Zealand.